So I'm looking at a view, a year's worth of production. I could pick and choose any period of time and I'd be able to analyze it, but I'm going to keep it for the last 12 months roughly. Shows me how many jobs have been run through. I've got some dials showing me a distinction of profitability. But basically we've got 1.6 million of gross profit over that period of time. What I'm now going to be able to do is drill down into more detail. And as I'm doing so, Power BI is helping me understand the data because it's a little subtle in some cases, but the darker the green, the more profitable on a percentage basis. The lines are showing me total profit for that particular, in this case, customer. But again, this distinction is very, very important. As I continue on, I can see a distinction between manufactured versus distributed parts. Not every manufacturer may distribute, but I can see a breakdown, and then getting all the way down to the part level. In this case, again, there's a distinction, very clear. One part, the very top part, is actually quite a bit more profitable, not because the line is longer, but because it's much, much darker green, which means our gross margin percentage is higher on that part versus the other. The question, of course, is why? All right, I'm going to flip this a little bit and we're going to look at it another way. So gross profit over time, and I could look at really any period of time. I'm going to look at a few months worth. I'll flip it back to by week. And I can start to see a very clear trend. This is at the high level. I could do the same thing for C customers, B customers, A customers. And I have a different video on how we calculate and break that down. But what's really important here, again, this is where it's even more dramatic, is I can see a very clear distinction between profitability based on the color. So if the size of a rectangle is similar, it means the total gross dollar is similar, but the big, big distinction is the gross margin percentage. And the question, of course, is, well, what's different? What are we selling to this customer versus that customer, which makes it significantly more profitable? Okay, that's what tools like Power BI are allowing us to ask those questions. And ultimately, we get down to the part by part or job by job basis. So I'm able to look again for any time period. What is my highest profitable jobs on a dollar percentage or a gross profit percentage? And again, you see there's a big distinction. They're not all the same, right? So behind each one of these is a real job with real hours going in, real material. It's complicated, and yet using tools like this helps us to focus where should our attention be, highest or the lowest profit, and use our time, our valuable time, to start asking what's the difference, what's the pattern, what's the exception, and now what do we do about it? In this case, do about it means is our quoting and estimating team, do they have this information? Do they understand? And as you quote new parts, new jobs, are you taking what you've learned from the past into account, essentially with our markup rates and making sure that our cost rates are correct for the work that we're estimating?